Assalamu alaikum students. In the previous lecture we discussed first 5 stanzas of Browning's dramatic monologue, The Last Ride Together. Let's start with the 6th stanza. What hand and brain went ever paired, what heart alike conceived and dared, what act proved all its thought had been, what will but felt the fleshy screen. As the lover and his beloved ride together, he reflects on the fate of mankind. The hands are never able to execute the ideas that the brain thinks of. It means action and thoughts are not necessarily always the same. People think to do something perfect, but they end up doing the other way. Achievements always fall short of conception and ideals. The heart desires much, but no man has ventured to fulfill those desires. A man may have greatest determination to achieve his ambition, but may not have enough energy to do so. His body might become a barrier between the mind's hope and their actual fulfillment in spite of his strong willpower. We ride and I see her bosom heave. There is many a crown for who can reach. 10 lines, a statesman's life in each. The flag stuck on a heap of bones. A soldier's doing what atones. They scratch his name on the abbey stones. My riding is better by their leave. The lover says that he at least has achieved some success in enjoying the ride in the company of his beloved and seeing her breathe by his side. He feels that he is better off than many others, for great efforts rarely meet with great success. In this stanza, he has chosen the lives of a statesman and a soldier for comparison with his own. The statesman who devotes all his life for the betterment of his nation and for the solution of its problems is rewarded only by a few words of praise at his funeral and obituary. The brave soldier fights in the hope of getting an everlasting glory, but he is remembered only by a flag on his grave and a small abbey stone in his name. He therefore says that his life as a lover is far better than theirs. Stanza 7. What does it all mean, poet? Well, your brains beat into rhythm, you tell what we felt only. You expressed, you hold things beautiful the best, and paste them in rhyme so side by side. The lover feels that his reward of a ride in his beloved's company is superior to that of many other men. He thinks about a poet. No doubt his achievement is great, for he expresses emotions and thoughts in melodious and rhythmic language. He can translate into words through his imagination the feelings of other human beings which they are unable to express. The poet holds the view that beauty is the highest ideal. He describes beauty in his songs. He skillfully arranges all these beautiful descriptions in the form of rhythmical verse. "'Tis something, nay, 'tis much. But then, have you yourself what's best for man? Are you poor, sick, old, ere your time? Nearer one whit your own sublime than we who never have turned a rhyme. Sing, riding is a joy for me, I write." The lover admits that all this is a great achievement, but then does he get rewarded sufficiently for his efforts? Certainly he does not, for he lives in poverty and sickness. He becomes old prematurely. He is no nearer to achieving his sublime ideal of beauty than those others who cannot write a single line of poetry. So, compared to the poet, the lover is better off. The poet can only describe in imagination the lover's joy in riding with his beloved. The lover gets the actual experience. So we may say that life is, after all, greater than art in Browning's view. The lover concludes that writing is a joy for him better than the poet's musing, and so he writes blissfully. Stanza 8. And you, great sculptor, you gave a score of years to art, her slave, and that's your Venus. When we turn to yonder girl that fords the burn, you acquiesce, and shall I repine? This time, the lover's focus shifts to a sculptor and a musician. No one's efforts get on adequate reward. He says that the hard-working, ambitious sculptor devoted 20 precious years of his life to art and became a slave of his passion for art, and he has made a beautiful statue of Venus, the Roman goddess of love and beauty. We admire the statue, but very soon our attention is diverted if we see a living girl in flesh and blood who may be quite ordinary and plain. The simple girl may be crossing a shallow stream, but the movement of life is more attractive than the cold perfection of a still, lifeless statue. So, here once again, Browning's views that life is greater and superior to art have been insisted upon, and the sculptor must agree with the truth of this view. So, why should the lover regret his lot? For he at least has the pleasure of a ride in his beloved's company. What a man of music, you grown grey, with notes and nothing else to say. Is this your sole praise from a friend? Greatly his opera's strains intend, but in music we know how fashion end. I gave my youth, but we ride in fine. Now the lover reflects over the life and career of a musician. In his eyes, the musician too has been unsuccessful. He has grown old composing music. The only praise he gets from his for his whole life's hard work is that his music sounds great. But fashions, after all, change, and his music will also not be permanently admired. Then his thoughts turn to his own life, that he has spent his youth in hoping to win his beloved's love. His reward is a last ride in her company, which he considers his greatest happiness. Stanza 9. Who knows what's fit for us? Had fate proposed bliss here, should be sublimate my being. Had I signed the bond, still one must lead some life beyond, have a bliss to die with, dim descried. These lines imply a kind of metaphysical reasoning. The lover says that it is not easy to determine what is good for us and what is not. Even if he had entered into a contract with fate that he should be given all happiness on earth itself, he would still hope for some happiness to be attained after death. Man's life does not end in this world. He has a life beyond too. Some of his desires must be left unfulfilled on this earth so that they can be accomplished in the next world. Though man has only a dim idea of the bliss of the next life, it is a hope of this future happiness which helps him to face death readily. This foot once planted on the goal, this glory garland round my soul, Could I descry such? Try and test. I sink back shuddering from the quest. Earth being so good, would heavens seem best? Now heaven and she are beyond this ride. The same idea is being repeated in these lines. If the lover says he had attained his life's greatest aim in on this earth, namely the love of his beloved, he would have achieved his supreme bliss on the earth. Having achieved the glorious award to satisfy his soul's desire on earth itself, there would be no more prizes for him in heaven. The very idea of dying without a hope for future seems troublesome to him. Men may seek out perfection on this earth, but he would not dare do so. If he had attained perfect happiness on earth, it would have turned into paradise. Heaven would have faded into insignificance. Disappointments on earth help one to cherish hopes of fulfillment in heaven. He has failed in love in this life, but he can now die with the hope of getting his beloved's love in the life beyond. His ride is joyful, but beyond that ride, he can hope for the greater and perfect joy of getting his beloved forever in heaven. In these lines, we find Browning's optimism at work, and we are reminded of a similar situation presented by Browning in another of his monologues called A Patriot into a Traitor, where we find a sincere patriot wrongly punished by his nation under the false allegations of his misdeeds. And that gentleman faces his death calmly, trusting that he would be rewarded for his sincere services by God Almighty in the next world, and he would be in a better position than those people who have received rewards for their good deeds in this world already. Stanza 10. And yet she has not spoke so long. What if heaven be that, fair and strong, at life's best, with our eyes upturned, whither life's flower is first discerned, we fixed so ever should so abide. The lover has a fantastic idea here as he rides along with his beloved for the last time. He notes that the lady has been silent all this while as he mused upon earth and heaven, but he is not perturbed by her silence. In fact, it seems as if he is enjoying heavenly bliss. After all, it may be nothing else but life's highest achievement. At the present moment, he and his beloved are riding together, looking upwards the sky, where man imagines heaven to be, which is the flower and culminating glory of man. He thinks, what if this very situation be in reality a heaven, the way he rides along with his beloved. At the moment she is fair and beautiful, and he himself is strong and healthy. For him the beloved's company is heaven. Thus perhaps he might have achieved heaven now. What if we still ride on, we two, with life forever old yet new, changed not in kind but degree, the instant made eternity, and heaven just prove that I and she ride together, forever ride. In these lines, the lover reaches the height of his imaginative hope as he says that the ride may continue forever, in which case he would enjoy the happiness of heaven permanently. The intensity of emotion and happiness would increase. The poem ends with the hope that heaven might just prove to be the present situation made permanent. Paradise might just be the bliss of two people, the lover and his beloved, riding together forever. His acute desire for the permanence of the present moment, that seems to him the culmination and embodiment of his love life, is so clearly felt by the reader in these last lines of the poem. The Last Ride Together is a dramatic lyric. It's a lyric because personal thoughts and feelings of a character have been expressed, and dramatic because the presentation is impersonal. Browning does not speak directly but makes an imaginary character speak. Browning's poems are all studies of the soul laying bare the mind of the man, his psychological motivations and inclinations. Even his love poems embody a great deal of intellectual analysis. He said that his stress lay upon incidents in the development of the soul, so we see that the last ride together begins at a critical point in a character's life. The situation is the flashpoint which sets the character speaking about love, his happiness in the present moment, and his ideal thoughts and his hopes for the future. Browning's personal optimism so vividly marks the tone of so many of his characters. Here in this poem, the rejected love does not make the lover frustrated or bitter. He is noble and blesses his beloved. When we talk about the style of the poem The Last Ride Together, it is composed of 10 stanzas, each of 11 lines. Simplicity, lucidity, and clarity mark the style of this poem. We don't find any obscurity here, a charge leveled often against Browning. There are no far fetched comparisons here. The comparison of the soul with a cramped scroll is striking but simple and easily understandable. Frequent rhyming lines give a flow and musical quality to the poem. The Last Ride Together presents Browning's principal philosophies. Life is always greater than art, and love is the best thing life can bring. Thank you for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.